Today we're going to be making a Vietnamese banh mi sandwich, a local favorite of GIs in Vietnam, and we're going to be discussing Project 100,000, controversially known as McNamara's Morons. Imagine growing up poor and being told that you're not cut out for the world. You're just too stupid to get by. Well, you're not really stupid, but you are low IQ. At best, you've got a menial job in some factory working for you. At worst, you might end up in prison or in some sort of institution somewhere, or a burden on the rest of society. But along comes an army recruiter, and he says,
"What's your sole purpose in this army?"
To do whatever you tell me, drill sergeant.
"Boy, we got programs in the army for guys like you. It'll lift you out of poverty. It'll teach you valuable skills. You'll learn a trade." This was the very premise of Project 100,000, an initiative in the 1960s to mid-1970s that was designed to increase recruitment in the United States Army to meet the manpower demands of the war in Vietnam.
So bye-bye, Jenny. They sending me to Vietnam. It's this whole other country.
The Army didn't just reduce its recruitment standard, it more or less completely threw it out the window and started recruiting men that scored so low on both the IQ scale and military aptitude tests that under any other circumstances these men would have been prevented from military service. These were men of such low IQ, 65, 70, 75, as to be considered disabled. And over the 10 years or so that it was in existence, it recruited over 350,000 of these men to the United States Army. Today's video is sponsored by YouTube Premium. More about that in a couple of minutes. Despite being called McNamara's Morons, the men in question in this program were not morons. They were in fact victims. They were victims of government exploitation that led to them being killed at a rate of 2 to 3 times higher than quote-unquote regular soldiers in Vietnam. The reasons for that are many and complex. Those who are less skilled to serve in other types of roles and responsibilities end up where? In the infantry. And in the infantry, you went to Vietnam. And in Vietnam, in the infantry, you had to survive on your wits. And if you couldn't do those things, you were going to get killed. And unfortunately, McNamara's Morons, members of Project 100,000, were killed at a rate 2 to 3 times higher than regular soldiers. In fact, of the 58,000 and some odd men killed in Vietnam, McNamara's Morons make up almost 10% of that number. In the heat and humidity of Vietnam, soldiers needed a lot more carbohydrate. They needed water-dense foods, like fruit, for example. And a lot of times they would acquire a lot of what they needed from the local civilian population because the MCIs were just inedible in that kind of a climate. You're not going to eat something heavily laden with fat. It will make you sick. It will make you feel nauseous. So what exactly is a banh mi sandwich? Well, it's a Vietnamese favorite. You have to remember that Vietnam was under French colonial influence from the 19th century all the way to the Battle of Dien Bien Phu. So French cuisine absolutely permeated Vietnam and really left a significant influence on Vietnamese food culture. It really didn't matter to our soldiers whether you were stationed in Saigon or whether you were patrolling out in the jungle. If you came across a village of any size, you could find a banh mi sandwich. Now, it can be made with any variety of different ingredients. The traditional is pork. You can also use chicken. You can use beef. Really, you can use anything. The beauty of this is in the marinade. The full recipe is below in the description, including the marinade and instructions for making a Vietnamese baguette. So while the pan is warming up, I'm just going to use this opportunity to heat up my bread here. I want to get it a little bit warm, a little bit toasty, and then I'm going to set it off to the side and start preparing the rest of the sandwich. Now, you're going to need 1 pound of meat, whether you're using pork, chicken, or beef, whatever your pleasure. I've gone for boneless pork chops, sliced extremely thinly, and marinated overnight. Check below in the description for the full list of ingredients in the marinade, but it's actually pretty simple. Soy sauce, oyster sauce, 5 spice powder, minced garlic. Right. Oh man, that smells amazing. Our pork's been cooking for a good 10-15 minutes now. Frankly, it's taken far longer than I thought it should have, but for whatever reason, I'm having a hell of a hard time getting enough heat out of this rocket stove. I think I should have lit it way earlier before I started cooking. Anyway, pork's about done. Now let's start building our sandwich, shall we? To build the sandwich, I'm just going to add some mayo and sriracha mix to one side of the bread. And you can make it as spicy or as mild as you want it. Now we're going to add our pickled vegetables to the other side of the bread. This is where you get that crunchiness from and that acidic pickled spice flavor that just really takes it to a whole nother level. The recipe calls for daikon, radish, cucumber, carrots, but really you could use anything you want here. I just have cucumbers and carrots. Alright, so we got pickled vegetables on this side of the bread, our sriracha mayo on this side. Now let's add the meat. I went for pork because I think that's probably the most authentic, but from what I was reading, in the more remote villages, you might just find this with grilled chicken. And in the big city like Saigon, you would find a fancier version that has pate on it. Again, more of that French influence in the Vietnamese cooking. Alright, there it is, all put together. Now the first bite. Oh man. Oh wow. That is really good. That is incredible. Oh, the pickled vegetables give it such like a polar opposite flavor to that savory meat. Simple, easy to make street food that really would have tasted like manna from heaven when you've had nothing but C Rations or MCIs for the last I don't know how many months. So thanks to YouTube Premium for sponsoring this video. Hey man, I can tell you, I've had a YouTube Premium subscription since 2019. And of all the monthly recurring subscription services you got out there, YouTube Premium I think is by far the best value. And it's the only one that I would absolutely keep, even if I couldn't keep the others. Number one, you get access to all that YouTube has to offer ad-free. No more interruptions before, during, or after a video to watch ads that you probably don't want to watch in the first place. Also, that one low price you pay every month gives you access to YouTube Music. Now, I replaced all the other streaming music services I have with YouTube Music, including SiriusXM Radio. Download songs to your app that you can listen to when you don't have a Wi-Fi connection, and do the same with your YouTube videos. You can watch them with the screen off. You can download them for when you don't have connection, like say for example on an airplane. So if you're convinced and you want to sign up for a YouTube Premium subscription, click the link below in the description. Tell them MRE Scout sent you. You'll get some freebies. I'm able to see both sides of the argument, and I'm not sure that I have the answer, but I do know this much. McNamara's morons, the victims of Project 100,000's recruitment lies, deserve our acknowledgement, they deserve our respect, and they deserve every last veteran's benefit that can be given to them. These were men who were not cut out for combat service, yet who served anyway. And the ones who survived, hopefully, found a better path in life than what might have awaited them had they not served in the military. I know it's been a long time since my last upload, so thank you to you subscribers who keep coming back for more. If you're new here and you like this video, you'd like to see more like this, please consider subscribing. And if you're interested in what else you should be watching, check out this video over here. Thanks, and I will see you next time. What are you still doing here? Go on, take off.